Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing in Northwest Arkansas.
Whether you're a seasoned investor just starting out, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and practical strategies to help you build wealth through real estate.
From buying and selling to property management and long-term investment planning, we cover it all so you can make smart, informed decisions in this fast-growing market. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast. We have today with us a very special guest, Clint O'Neal. He is the Executive Director of Arkansas Economic Development of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. We're super happy to have you, Clint. Thanks for taking your time. You drove up from Little Rock today, correct? Is that right?
That's right.
I'm really looking forward to this podcast episode because I think it gives some good parallels in real estate. We have a lot of people from across the country that will come to this podcast and be like, hey, let's get some info on really Northwest Arkansas, but you have a wide knowledge of the state, and I think our listeners are going to be really looking forward to that. So thank you. Can we just start off with give us a little bit 30,000 foot perspective of your background, what Arkansas Economic Department of Commission does, and just kind of we'll lead in from there.
Sure. Yeah. So, I got my start a few years out of college, actually starting with the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. We can call it AEDC for short now.
Yeah.
Twister. But I was a project manager on our business development team. And what that means is basically a salesperson. I mean, we're looking at competitive opportunities, whether it be an existing company considering expanding in Arkansas or considering expanding at another one of their locations out of state. Yeah. And sometimes business attraction opportunities. So a lot of times companies, regardless of their existing footprint, they're always evaluating their real estate needs, evaluating their workforce needs, looking out 10, 20, 30 years into the future and thinking, where are the great states? Where are the great communities for us to do business? Yeah. And so a lot of what we do at AEDC is marketing. It's elevating the image of what it's like to live and do business in Arkansas. It's a little bit on the policy side, working with the Arkansas General Assembly of how do we best create a toolkit to incentivize companies to be successful and to continue to invest and create jobs in Arkansas. So as a project manager back in the days, I mean, this was, we had some technology, but this is going on close to 20 years ago. Yeah. A lot of it was getting in these requests for information. I need a 100-acre site with rail service, or I need a 80,000 square foot building with at least 25-foot ceilings. Whatever it is, we're tackling the real estate needs of clients. A lot of times companies will outsource their location analysis work to site selection consultants. So there's a group of maybe 200 or so site selection consultants around the country that are actively working with states and communities on behalf of their clients. Kind of the full range of real estate, workforce analysis, business cost analysis, incentives negotiations. And so we just kind of walk down that pathway of, are we meeting their needs, real estate? Are we meeting their needs from workforce, the reputation, the engagement with workforce development institutions, community colleges, four-year universities, K-12 system, the business cost. We've cut taxes 3 times in the last 2.5 years under Governor Sanders' administration. Taxes were cut. Before that, in the Hutchinson administration, we have done major things to create a better business climate in Arkansas over the last 10 years, and that's being recognized. So as a project manager on the team, I was given the opportunity to engage with the primary point of contact, whether that be the company or the site consultant, and they're usually fairly upfront. I'm looking at 5 or 6 states, you're one of them, and here's what it's going to take to keep from getting eliminated in this next round. So you do a lot of desktop analysis and information exchange, all with the hope that you get a site visit. Site visit meaning executives or the folks working on the project, they come to town, you're wining and dining, but it's very information exchange. I mean, the economic development business, it's always going to be a relationship business. People want to work with people that they trust, that they like, but it's very much a data-driven business. A little bit before I started, there was a lot more golf involved. I'd take you out to a golf course. Yeah. Let's sign a deal.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, those days are gone. Yeah. But it's definitely a combination, building relationships, but also supplying data, all with the hope of, you're getting down to that final round of negotiations with incentives, and then a company says, this is the place we want to do business. So whether again, number one, what we value is the companies that already do business in Arkansas. We want them to be happy and satisfied, and when they have opportunities to grow, we want them to do that in Arkansas. Always promoting Arkansas is a good place to do business, and then working with entrepreneurs. But my start was as a project manager. Took a job in Kansas City working for an organization called the Missouri Partnership, doing exclusively marketing and business attraction. Did that for about 7 years. That's a model that the state of Missouri has to outsource their state-level recruiting to a public-private organization called the Missouri Partnership. And then back in 2018, came back to Arkansas to be the deputy director at AEDC and was promoted to executive director by Governor Sanders in 2023.
That's great. So basically what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're like an ambassador for the state of Arkansas and you're going out there. So like, and this is from my very rookie knowledge on the topic, like if Come and Go was looking to add 3 or 4 new spots and they're like, hey, we're kind of up in the air between a few states, like that would be your conversation. Is that right?
Yeah, it could be. It's more primarily on what we call basic industries that create primary jobs. So I'll explain that by, companies that provide a good or service that they're going to export out of the market and import money. So we're not necessarily working with restaurants, retails, small service shops. It's more corporate headquarters, technology centers, manufacturing, distribution, those that are taking a look around the country. Some do an international search. They may be looking at the USA versus Mexico on where to add a production facility. But for the most part, our competition in these projects are neighboring states. Maybe it's a company that already has manufacturing on the West Coast and the East Coast. They want something in the middle part of America, or there's a distribution center and just the need for that is in a 3 or 4 state region in central part of the country. But a lot of times I would say a big majority of our projects are in manufacturing, and a lot of the other ones are, whether it be data centers or distribution centers or some sort of office setting.
Yeah.
How much would you say your position is relocation for companies, and how much, I guess, would be startups, like you said, or new companies looking to make a big splash?
Yeah, the vast majority are established companies. Maybe they have a network of facilities and they're growing. They're looking to add one more. We certainly have some relocations. There are certain states that are just, let's pick on California for a minute. Beautiful state, absolutely, wonderful state in terms of the talent, in terms of the natural landscape. And they've just had a run of governors who have tried to, take this regulatory mindset. Yeah. Whereas a lot of southern states, we take a mindset of we're going to champion business. Yeah. We welcome business. Don't see ourselves as a regulator. Don't see ourselves as how can we take advantage of companies and tell you that it's a privilege to do business in our state. So, there are companies, California, other states that are fleeing. I think that we'll see it in New York soon. We already have. I mean, you see memes of like the Statue of Liberty on the back of a trailer going towards Florida,
I saw that,
and we want that trailer with the Statue of Liberty to head toward Arkansas. So you see some relocations. You see some, kind of onshoring of companies trying to get away from manufacturing in China, or at least kind of a China plus one type policy where they're not only exclusively manufacturing in China. So you see some of that, but I think the large majority would just be large established companies that or growing companies that are looking to continue to do business here. I'm in town today because we had an expansion project this morning in Fayetteville with packaging specialties. Started with entrepreneurs 50 years ago that started a company in Fayetteville. Since then, they've branched out, have locations in 2 other states. But as they're continuing to grow, they announced $24 million investment, 100 new jobs here in Northwest Arkansas. So that's kind of the bread and butter.
Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest win that you've seen in your career for the state of Arkansas, or maybe a few of the biggest wins?
Yeah, great question. By capital investment, just a few weeks ago, we had the Google data center announcement in West Memphis. So they announced a $4 billion project. That certainly kind of came out of nowhere in the national conversation with data centers and where that's going. In the steel industry in Northeast Arkansas with Big River Steel and the acquisition of U.S. Steel, of BRS, and now the partnership with Nippon Steel from Japan. I mean, billions and billions of dollars from a county that used to be one of the nation's largest exporters of cotton, now the largest steel production county in America,
Wow.
Mississippi County. And so whether it's steel in Northeast Arkansas, whether it's timber and forestry products in South Arkansas, whether it's around the state, aerospace and defense, food and beverage, the technology sector, certainly seeing a lot, and a lot of projects. I mean, this is going on around the country, certainly Arkansas. The investment figures are just staggering.
Right.
I mean, it used to be $10, $20, $50 million project was incredible.
Yeah.
And kind of a once in a every couple month type opportunity.
Yeah.
And now just seeing billion-dollar opportunities
Yeah.
on a fairly regular basis.
I feel like I see you at a ribbon cutting here in Northwest Arkansas every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like $24 million in Fayetteville, $27 million in Springdale, Keytronic, mostly manufacturing.
Yeah.
I think that Keytronic Springdale one was another example of a manufacturer that is expanding its arm in NWA. Is that what you're seeing a lot of in NWA on your like manufacturers expanding here, versus these large? It seems like a $25 million to $50 million investments.
Yeah, you're right. We've seen a lot of projects in that size in NWA. We're working with the Northwest Arkansas Council on some initiatives. They were vitally important in this past legislative session, helping us pass some incentives and some policies around industrial development authorities. We've got a constitutional amendment, a vote that'll go before the people next November for what's called economic development districts. Happy to get into any of that. But, one thing that Northwest Arkansas is lacking from an industrial standpoint is large industrial sites.
Yeah.
If we had large industrial sites here in NWA, we'd see a lot more successful large industrial projects. So, still thankful that we do have some of the sites and some of the existing buildings that we have to be able to recruit these companies and to be able to have these expansions.
Hard to find land for those, but I'm with NWA, so dense near these city centers. I'd say it seems like they'd have to go kind of outside the city to get something, for the low prices.
I think it's tough to find anything. But if you start talking about millions and millions of dollars, then $10 million piece of land becomes a lot less of a hurdle. I did have a question, on a macro scale. When you're talking to all these people across the nation, do you ever have to overcome this perception of Arkansas, like hillbillies and tractors and majority poor and moonshine and stuff?
Absolutely.
Is that something you have to overcome?
Well, so I would describe it like this. There's a small percentage of people on one side that are not from Arkansas, but they have an incredibly favorable outlook on Arkansas. Maybe they've been on vacation here. Maybe they've done business here.
Actually been here.
So they say, I love the times I've gone to Arkansas. I understand you guys have something very special there, a small state. You work well together. You're known as the natural states. Beautiful state, great people, hardworking people. And then on the other side, you have a very small percentage of the population that fits that description of they're uneducated. They have these stereotypes that have been portrayed upon Arkansas. When I was moving back from Kansas City, I had friends that would say, hey, make sure you go buy some shoes before you go back home. Because they're not going to be available in Arkansas. Or
no smartphone.
The toothbrush was invented in Arkansas. You know that because otherwise it would be called the teeth brush.
Teeth brush, yeah.
And so, you got ignorant people on that side. But what you have in the middle is this large, population of people that just, they would give it a blank slate. And I would say it's neutral to fairly positive. I think from where we sit, if you were to go around and ask Arkansans, where do you live in the United States? Do you live in the South? Do you live in the Midwest? Do you live in the Mid-South? There's not a consistent answer, but there's some consistency just in the culture of kind of the heartland of America where people care about one another. They're going to talk to their neighbors. They're going to engage. They're going to work hard. And so I think that we, along with our neighboring states, have this favorable outlook from a quality of life, from the way we treat one another, the way that we work, the way that we welcome newcomers, the way we welcome business. And so I think you see that from around the world. We do a lot of international trips, a lot of companies out there from other countries that are looking in the United States for where to do business. And we start with where we're at on the map and the advantages of doing business in Arkansas. And just for fun, a lot of times we'll ask people, what do you know about Arkansas?
Yeah, that's a great
And so Walmart's headquartered in Arkansas, Bill Clinton's from Arkansas. And a lot of times those are the two.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of fun engaging because 90% of the conversation are with those people that just give it a blank slate.
Yep. I was doing some research earlier too. You have you been going over to Asia recently?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've done 3 trips to Asia within the last 2 years. So we've had international offices for many years. Office in Europe and an office in Asia. So Neil Jansen's our director of our Asia office. He's actually an Arkansan, grew up in Arkadelphia, moved to Japan about 20 years ago, married a Japanese woman, speaks the language fluently. I mean, it's pretty, it's a sight to see for he and I to walk into a room and for them to say, "Where's your translator?" And
You're like,
I'm like, this guy right here.
country boy right here.
So, and even dating back before Neil, we've had a presence in Japan specifically for a long time. And that's really helped us. I mean, Japan has been such a big part of the United States economy. So a lot of companies with ownership in Japan here in Arkansas. Recently, we've really tried to engage more with South Korea. You see, Korea is just a target-rich environment that will continue to have more and more foreign direct investment projects. And so it had been a while before we really had a presence in Korea or many trips to Korea, but Governor Sanders made a trip in March of 24 and really opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just known internationally, easy to open doors, meet with CEOs of large Korea conglomerates. And so we actually opened an office in Korea, so we have representation in Korea, a firm called Interlink that has 2 of their colleagues that represent Arkansas, meaning they just go out and talk to companies in Korea about the advantages of doing business in Arkansas, generate leads for us to follow up on. And so this last trip was Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. Taiwan kind of also fitting that category of one that has been many years since an Arkansas state official has been to, but just exploring the opportunities there.
So basically, you're turning up basically warm leads, going over and having conversations about Arkansas.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's great. I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, what have you seen has been the biggest shift for your, I mean, you've been in this business for 20 years now. So I would say the last 5 to 10 years, a lot's happened. What would you say is the biggest shift in like how you do business?
Well, I think some of the industry sectors change in terms of the priority that's placed on how that shapes up. I think, just in terms of how we do business, a lot of it's the same in terms of companies that are looking for states that have great public policy, people that care. And so I think, real strength to Arkansas is the way that we collaborate, the way that within a phone call or two, dating back certainly the past couple administrations and even ones before, just the accessibility of the governor's office, of our office, connections with whether it's a mayor, a county judge, economic development leaders, construction companies, utility leaders. People are rowing in the same direction and they want to get things done. So technology has advanced the industry, certainly, but there is no less a relational component than there ever has been, which, is good for those of us that probably won't get their jobs taken away by AI. I mean, I think it's technology tools like that are certainly going to help the industry, and you have to embrace that. But when I first started, a lot of what we would do, we had this big table in the middle of the business development section, and we were opening up 3-ring binders and filling it full of papers and taking it down to the FedEx office. And, mailing these 50-pound boxes of just full of maps and brochures and booklets and it's just the speed that's expected is has gotten to be just incredibly tight timelines. From hey, in the next month or so, if you could mail me this booklet, we're going to start to look at real estate, to it'd be nice to have it by the end of the day, but if you could send me just some links, some information in the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to get started.
Right.
And but yeah, we've seen industries like data centers pop up, seen opportunities, like I mentioned, in the steel industry, and just.
I was sorry to butt in, but you're competing all the time with Tennessee. I mean, we're technically in competition with Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri. What's your, and when I was in sales, I called it blocking the exit. So I'm like pre-thinking of like, what does this state have over us? Like, what do you see the most time when somebody decides to make a decision for another state over ours, or like what? Or you could flip that and say, what do we have over another state that helps you win a lot of times and arguments, and not arguments, but when you're pitching Arkansas, what's that thing that helps you for our state over our competitors?
Yeah, I think if you were to put it in a few major categories, category of real estate, category of talent and workforce, category of business cost and incentives, and more these days, this category of energy capacity. Do you have the power that we're going to need for this large manufacturing facility or whatever it is? And so if you just go step by step, a lot of times we will get eliminated in the early stages of a project because we don't have the real estate. And so if you're coming in looking for, let's take like the Ford Blue Oval project that went to the Memphis mega site years ago, not that many years ago, completing construction, getting up and going. 3,500 acres, all infrastructure to the site. The site was owned by the state of Tennessee. If someone were to ask, why didn't Arkansas win that? Well, that's a no-brainer. We don't have a 3,500 acre site that has, one ownership, clear pathway to acquisition, all infrastructure. We really struggle in that area. In fact, maybe statewide we have 3 or 4 sites of 1,000 to 1,500 acres.
Wow.
Certainly nowhere close to 3,500 acres. And so that's something that we know, something that we're working on. We have an Arkansas site development program, $50 million to help strengthen infrastructure in sites that are owned by municipalities or economic development organizations. But when you get eliminated early on in a project for something like that, at least it's clear, and there are projects where you're just simply not on the radar screen and you wish that you were. And maybe it's because of those perception issues, or frankly, a lot of times it's just population issues. There are companies where if they're going to add 200 jobs, they're going to have the confidence, okay, in a market like Northwest Arkansas or you name it, several, Texarkana, Leonard Hawk, Jonesboro, several around the state, 200 jobs, that's manageable, that's doable. If you have a project that's 2,000 jobs, you might be tempted to say, no, Arkansas is a small state. We're going to look at the Dallas region. We're going to look at the Kansas City region. We're going to look at some of the larger regions, and we're just going to cut out small states because we don't have the confidence that we'll be able to find that many people.
Or immediately off the table.
Yeah, immediately off the table.
Yeah.
It's ones where you get further and further into the project, and sometimes sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
I always love it when companies or site consultants will take the time to debrief and say, the presentation done by your community college leaders, it fell short. You need to work on that. Like, wow, that hurts, but great feedback.
Can't get better if you don't know.
We'll take that back. Sometimes it's you simply did not put the level of incentives on the table that some other states did. That's something for us to evaluate. Where are we at from a public policy standpoint, from what we have in the economic development toolbox? Are we using what we have? Should we have gone a little bit more aggressive? We're always looking at the cost-benefit analysis, the return on investment type figures.
Yeah.
Somewhere, and a lot of times it's a combination, or the most frustrating, and it's they just had a gut feeling about somewhere else, and they won't really give you that feedback.
Yeah.
What are some incentives that, you can be general here, that a lot of states are out there offering, Arkansas to be specific to a business to try to attract them, I guess? Yeah.
So you've got the incentives in the categories of upfront cash. So we have what's called the Governor's Quick Action Closing Fund. And so, you could think of it as a cash grant with callbacks or a forgivable loan that can be forgiven with job creation. Okay. So as stewards of taxpayer dollars, we can't just go around handing out bags of cash And we never want to have an adversarial relationship with companies down the line. So upfront cash, and most states would structure it like this. They would say, okay, we're going to give you X number of dollars, let's call it $10,000 per job. And so if you commit to X number of jobs and we give you $10,000 per job and we have testing dates set up, if 3 or 4 years from now you've created half the jobs that you committed to, we're going to expect half the money back. And so there's legal agreements there. That's why sometimes it's almost easier just to call it kind of a forgivable loan. You can pay us back in money or you can pay us back in jobs. We would rather you pay us back in jobs. That's what we're here to facilitate. So a lot of times that goes for infrastructure. If a company finds a site but still needs extension of water or sewer lines, or sometimes the turning lane from a road, or sometimes we'll get creative with the definition of infrastructure, but there can be upfront cash. We have a program called Create Rebate that's a cash rebate at the end of each year, giving a check as a percentage of total net new payroll up to 10 years. It's a program that's performance based. There's no concern about any kind of clawbacks. Just if you only performed up to half of what you committed, you only get half the money that was on the table. Programs like that, and then just ways of reducing the tax burden. So income tax credits, sales tax refunds. A big one at the local level is property tax abatement. So if a company is investing really as low as $5 or $10 million or more, it's worth it to go through this what's called Act 9 bonds. The company would hire a bond attorney and go through this system of achieving property tax abatement through the bond program, which a lot of times can be a win-win. Communities in Arkansas can abate up to 65% of property taxes for up to 30 years. And most community leaders are going to look at that on a sliding scale. If this is a project with an absolute huge investment, a lot of jobs, very competitive, may offer the top range of that. And then if it's somewhere that's a solid single or double, maybe a 10-year abatement, 50%, maybe up to 65%, something like that. But it's not taking anything off the tax rolls, but just for a new project where new taxes are going to be added to the tax rolls, a little bit of property tax abatement there. Wow. And then training grants. That's one of our favorite investments. To us, it's always worth investing in Arkansans. So if we're investing in training Arkansans for customized skills of one employer, even if they leave, they've got those skills, transferable skills, and so always want to be generous with our training funds.
Do you take a lot of pride in these two stats? Arkansas being number 12 in area developments and 2024 best states to do business, and then number 10 for economic outlook in ALEC's rich states, poor states. I mean, I feel like you would probably have to do a lot with those.
Yeah. So, area development 1 is one where we were actually 18th the year before. So we certainly take pride in how that went from 18 to 12. There are so many publications and ranking agencies that sometimes have pretty wild methodologies.
Yeah.
And so we're like,
interviewed 2 people.
Right. Yeah. So we're top 10 in some rankings, we're bottom 10 in some rankings. And the way that we handle that is every time we're bottom 10, we just don't mention those.
Yeah.
And, when we're top 10, we shout it from the rooftop.
Yes, exactly.
But no, we try to look at the methodology because there's certain things that you can affect with the ALEC, for example. I think the members of our General Assembly should be very proud. Just from the public policy side, the tax cuts, the new incentives that we've passed, the business-friendly outlook of our legislature has led to rankings like that and led to recognition by companies, confidence to expand. And so, it's always better to be ranked more favorably, but sometimes, it's just kind of based on the methodology and what you can control.
When a big company is coming into Arkansas, how much or little red tape is there on, and this is from me not really having any knowledge on it, from a state level of like, hey, we're coming to this area. Like, is Arkansas incentivizing as far as red tape goes for a company to come in? Would you say yes or no, or kind of in the middle or normal?
Well, I'd say we're, we strive to be the best when it comes to, cutting out red tape, providing access. A lot of times it'll start at a high level. So maybe there's 3 or 4 Arkansas communities being looked at by one company as well as communities in another state. Some of those communities may be eliminated one at a time. You don't have the workforce, don't have a good gut feeling about your quality of life, one reason or another. And so we communicate incentives at a high level. And if a company's working with a site selection consultant, they know they've done deals in Arkansas. So there's a trust level of, we're not going to get to a final stage and y'all are going to go really weak on us with incentives. Worked with you before. We want to meet the company's needs. Sometimes there are more infrastructure needs or more training needs. Sometimes the landscape of the competition is just a little bit different. And so, no, we strive to work closely with our community partners. I feel like we have great relationships with the local economic developers around the state, so that when we're getting in that final stage, we've kind of crossed those thresholds of your real estate looks good, your workforce looks good. Let's kind of drill down on the business costs. And a lot of times, what companies will do is they'll find 2 or 3 communities that they know this will all work. These 2 or 3 communities, they could work. We could be successful. We could be profitable here. But which one is the best? And so that's when kind of the final push, either incentives or quality of life measures, or frankly, one thing that we really like to do is executive to executive type conversations. Those of us that work for the state or communities, that's what we do. We get paid to champion our areas. And so companies know that. They might be saying, I want to talk to one of my peers, somebody who owns a business or who's a plant manager. So those confidential conversations, we'll put 2 people in a room and say, hey, say anything you want to say about doing business here in Northwest Arkansas or your community. And so for them to say, here are the advantages and disadvantages of recruiting people to the area, of training people within this area. So everything from marketing, some of our kind of sizzle videos of having the top executives around the state saying great things, to that project specific executive to executive conversation. That's where we want to be.
I see. I would see where quality of life comes into play for Arkansas, and on the residential level, Brandon and I are on the residential to the commercial side of residential for Brian, where I'm having a lot of conversations with people out of state, and they love the quality of life in Arkansas. It's far above. People specifically will target Arkansas for quality of life. And would you see that coming in? Do you see that coming into play when you're having these conversations? You're like, hey, we can get 200 or 300 jobs here pretty easy because there's this and it's beautiful. And does that come into play?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think any company, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the size of town. We work, one of the things that we're most proud of is we've seen project announcements all over Arkansas, Southeast Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, Southwest Arkansas. In fact, some companies, they come and they want a rural setting. Maybe they're creating 50 jobs, maybe up to 100 jobs. And they know if we go to a rural setting, we can be big fish, small pond, get the attention we need. And then there's companies that they want a more thriving, growing environment, but they're going to look at quality of schools. They're going to look at retail. They're going to look at outdoor amenities. They're going to look at housing prices across the board. A lot of times these decisions are made thinking, what's this community going to be like in 10 or 20 years? So any community where you go in and maybe you go to a restaurant and you ask your server, hey, how do you really like living in this? We've got to have champions and ambassadors at all levels, because inevitably, before that last investment decision is going to be made, they're going to go into a gas station. They're going to ask the cashier, really like living here. They're going to ask people around town. And so we're not going to get that opportunity to just be in front of them always as, hey, I'm the economic developer. Things are great around here. And so, having those ambassadors all around town to speak to quality of life, that there's just there's some momentum around here. That people love it around here. You'd be welcome to be here. That carries a whole lot of weight.
We've been talking a lot about how amazing Arkansas is, but if there's an area where you feel Arkansas could sharpen its tool, where do you see that, or in what category would you see Arkansas being able to sharpen itself?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things around workforce that we've really tried to work on within the Sanders administration, and so we're making strides, but I think it'll continue to be a push. And so one is the labor force participation rate. Not to get nerdy on you, but the way labor force participation rate is calculated is basically age 16 through death, not including those that are incarcerated or in the military, what percentage of that population is working. And so there's a lot of good reasons to not be working within that age range. Maybe you have full-time students on the early end. Maybe you have retirees.
Yep.
Maybe you have single income families. And so not looking for that percentage to be anything more than just, closer to the national average. Right now, Arkansas is about 4 points below the national average.
And what is the national average?
It's around 61.
Okay.
And we're around 57.
Okay.
So we've got to get that percentage that should be in the labor force. We've got to get them in the labor force. And so a lot of work's been done on who are these people?
Yeah.
Is it a barrier because of childcare that need to get more women in the labor force? Is it the stereotypical 30-year-old guy that's playing video games in his parents' basement? I don't know if that guy actually exists.
Yeah.
But
now they might be making money doing that.
yeah. But there's a certain percentage of the population that we've got to get back in the labor force because obviously going from not being in the labor force to being a contributor in the economy is an incredible turnaround. And then it's just the overall workforce development landscape.
Yeah.
So I've got 4 kids from ages 18 to 10. I mean, I'm in the middle of this right now thinking for my 4 kids, how do you hit that sweet spot? Something that they're good at, something that they enjoy doing, something that a real world job exists, and then ideally, a 4th layer, a real world job exists that pays well. And so how do you hit that sweet spot?
Yeah.
So, we've kind of gone in different directions as a country. We've gone the direction of everybody needs to go to college. We've gone the direction of everybody needs to do this. I mean, we need kind of just to hit people's sweet spot. I mean, there are certainly people that they don't like being in school. They're not good at school. They're not going to have a job that requires a university education. And so, I love hearing these stories of whether it's somebody who goes into the trades, becomes a plumber, becomes an electrician, or goes to Steel Boot Camp Academy and gets a job with a steel mill, making way more than they would make with their philosophy degree or whatever it is. But, and there's maybe some meaningful jobs out there with a philosophy degree. I don't mean to pick on any particular
1, maybe 2
degree.
No,
but finding the sweet spot for Arkansans is really a passion area for the governor's office, for us at the Department of Commerce and AEDC. And so finding those pathways, whether it be community college or the rate of the going to the trades or a 4-year university, just finding the sweet spot of Arkansas is what we got to continue to do.
I definitely see the trades being a big one. I mean, AI can't replace going and turning a wrench on when you got a sewer coming up out of your toilet or something like. And that's been a talk I've heard in other podcasts too. I guess is on a national scale. Like we are trending a little bit more away from like you have to go to college to like no, you can. There's a lot of creative ways you can make money and start a plumbing business, start an HVAC business, a modern luxury is HVAC and plumbing and electric light. That will never go away. So that's a great topic.
Yeah. So if before we go into NWA, I want to highlight that if I'm a company in New York City, I want to move out of New York City right now. I have $50 million and I have 100 employees I want to bring. Why should I go to Arkansas versus Texas or Tennessee?
Yeah.
So what's your pitch to them?
I mean, it's always going to be project specific, but one thing you can count on in Arkansas is we're going to tell you the truth and we're going to collaborate closely. And maybe you find that in other states. I can't talk bad about every state. I mean, the 2 you mentioned actually have great business climates, Texas and Tennessee. I think that you'll find in Arkansas,
maybe Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think you'll find in Arkansas a willingness on behalf of not only elected leaders, but just everyone across the board to be helpful. Whether that's a fellow plant manager down the road, maybe that's the construction company, it's the utility companies, it's the partners that are going to help you be successful. You want to be in a place where you can go have a conversation with a neighbor to say, hey, I'm looking for somebody of a particular skill set, and they say, yeah, my uncle works at a place. Let me call him. He's got to know some people.
Right.
Or I've got a friend down at the university. Surely they know somebody. Just a place where we're going to collaborate well. through official and unofficial channels like that. A place that's going to give you a great business climate, predictability for years to come. I mean, we've had a balanced budget in Arkansas for the last many decades. And so we have ended each fiscal year with an incredible surplus in the last 3 years, and we've cut taxes. So what that says is that we're going to not only, we've got to provide basic services, and so people understand that. But when you finish the year with a surplus and you are pushing toward future tax cuts, it kind of gives the confidence that they're not getting ready to raise taxes on me. In fact, they're going to keep going. Again, not to talk bad about any states, this has been a while.
Yeah.
But when Kansas did this experiment of like dropping rates significantly, did a lot of damage, and they've had to raise their tax rates over time to make up for that. They're in a better spot now and doing well. But we never want to be like that. So we cut taxes responsibly, constantly looking at our environment, intervening where we can with prepping sites and lowering taxes and giving customer service, and then getting out of the way where it's appropriate. Not seeing ourselves as a regulator of business, but seeing ourselves as a champion of business. And so helping out with customized needs of workforce, doing everything that we can to help companies is something that I think would put us, as a lot of site selection consultants know, they can bring their clients to Arkansas ultimately, or may not work out, but we're not going to embarrass them in front of their clients. We're going to give them a very compelling reason to do business in Arkansas. And, a lot of factors. So we're going to win some, we're going to lose some, but ultimately we want to win more than our fair share.
Well, I see why you're executive director. I'm convinced. Man, I love your heart for the state of Arkansas and how well you're so easily able to rip off this stuff, and it's cool to see. And being born and raised in Arkansas, having feeling like we're on the same team in a sense of I love this state, and you're out there the champion for the state. It's really cool, and I want to give you your flowers there. Do you want to head into Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah.
The last part of this, I'd love to talk about Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I think so. I think to round that up, how does NWA fit into your statewide goals?
Well, well said, statewide goals. We want all 75 counties to be incredibly prosperous. We want opportunities for Arkansans. We do what we do for Arkansans. And we do that through the channel of working with communities and with companies, but ultimately it's about Arkansans. Northwest Arkansas plays such an incredible role. Just the sheer population growth, the momentum, the research and innovation that comes out of the University of Arkansas, the initiatives that are here, the quality of life. It's a shining star of the state. It's a place where the reputation, the perception has just gone through the roof over the years. The visitors to the all the amenities of Arkansas. I had somebody tell me once, said, you guys have built out this brand in Northwest Arkansas as the mountain biking capital of the world. And do y'all even have mountains here? And said, no. He said, he was joking, but such great mountain biking trails. Crystal Bridges, Museum of American Art, and how many people from around the country may have started by saying, really? The best art in America can be found in Arkansas?
Yeah.
And have left saying, I'm coming back and I'm bringing more friends and family and
we're going to buy a house here.
Yeah. And so, or just the number of stories, maybe that people came and they said, okay, I'm going to take this job with Walmart and I'm going to stay for 5 years and then I'm out of here. And 30 years later, maybe they work for another firm or maybe they started a company. But people, they come here, they love it. And just a great representation of our state, from the heart behind the people to the success of the companies. And so we want nothing but to see that momentum continue here in Northwest Arkansas.
What kind of businesses are you seeing that are eyeing or planting here in Northwest Arkansas right now?
Yeah, I think some of the sectors, food and beverage, consumer goods, aviation, aerospace and defense.
Yeah.
Across the board around entrepreneurship, whether it be kind of working within these major sectors of supply chain and logistics and things that JB Hunt might be involved in, or things that Tyson Foods may be involved in, or retail technology, things that Walmart may be involved in. We work closely with Startup Junkie and all the work around entrepreneurship with them and the University of Arkansas. And so I think whether it's a large established industry or it's just a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the great things about our job is being involved in like these entrepreneurship programs where you hear about people just moving to Arkansas. Just, I got a taste of Northwest Arkansas, and I decided to just move myself and my business here. And maybe they're leasing space at the Ledger, or maybe they're working out of their home, or it's another co-working space, or maybe they're just starting to do great things. But I think that'll continue. Arkansas's always had a pretty diverse economy, except for Northwest Arkansas.
Would you say you're exceptionally more bullish on any of those for the next couple of years, would you say you're more bullish on any of those, like industries planting up here, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. Across the board, I think they're all doing well.
Yeah.
One thing that I'd really like to see across the state, but in particular in Northwest Arkansas, so you mentioned Keytronic as one. Keytronic, they found this building that a developer had built, a spec building, knowing that if we find the right tenant, this is going to work out well. Developers are not building just all around America. They're building in regions where there's confidence that companies are going to come along and want to lease space. I would love to see a lot more of that.
Okay.
I think that, when I did economic development in Kansas City, definitely economic development was developer driven. I mean, there's so many developers that are just throwing up 400, 600, 800,000 square foot buildings, leasing them before they're even built out, and then they go on to the next one.
Yeah.
I think Northwest Arkansas could be that market, just the growing population, the growing economic development momentum. I certainly hope that we get more and more attention from national developers who are thinking, I want to find regions that I can go invest, build buildings, knowing that not every company wants to own their building. Some, they just want to focus on running their business, and they want to lease. And so I think that's an opportunity for Northwest Arkansas.
So you're basically saying to see those investors from across the country just front that money and have the lease space for triple net lease. That's basically what you see Northwest Arkansas could do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brian, do you see that as well?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of options there. For me personally, I'm looking at building some flex space for 2,500 square foot, and part of that vision is, do I build it to suite where it's move in ready, or do I build it and hey, who this next tenant is, they may want 3 offices. One tenant might want 10 offices.
Yeah.
So I think what Clint is saying, you kind of build out this box, and then you have potential companies come in and say, here's how we would build it to suite. So I think there is definitely opportunity in the industrial space here to do that.
Yeah.
And obviously, is there any incentives for developers to, tax incentives, or I don't know if there's any incentives for that?
Well, not currently. There could be with this economic development districts bill that's will be in front of the people of Arkansas to vote a year from now. So it passed as a referral for a potential constitutional.
We can dig into that a little bit if you want.
Yeah. This is something that a group of interested folks, a lot of attorneys around the state, started looking at. How do we best compete with Texas, for example? You hear about all these great economic development deals in Texas, and a lot of times it's community driven. It's not necessarily the state organization, although they're a great organization and they're supportive.
Yep.
This would give communities the ability to redirect sales and property taxes in a very broad, gives them broad authority. So whether it's sometimes known as a TIF district or a tax increment financing, that's one of the tools within an economic development district. But if this passes, and There's a group at the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce that's leading an educational campaign because there's, of course, a lot of questions. And anytime that you have a new program like this, you're going to be having those that say, is this corporate welfare? Is this something that's pushed upon communities? A lot of questions, which is reasonable. We've got a year to educate Arkansans, and certainly hope that we'll add this tool to the toolbox. It would give local elected officials, so city council or quorum court, the ability to create an economic development district. And that can be an 8-block area of downtown. It can be an industrial park. It can be residential, commercial, industrial, whatever a community wants. And within that area, you set up the parameters of how you'll redirect sales and property taxes. So you may be working with an investor, you may be working with an end user, and maybe working with a high-end retailer. I would not encourage this for your everyday retail. There's certain retail that's just going to happen on its own as a function of rooftops and discretionary income. But if you're wanting to attract a unique retailer who's looking for incentives, and that's what it's going to take to get it over the edge. Across the board, whatever you want to do to give communities the ability to redirect sales and property tax to pay off infrastructure build out or to incentivize developers. A community certainly does not have to go down that road. This can pass, and a community can say, we're never going to create an economic development district, and that's fine. Just want to put this tool in the hands of communities so that what we're seeing in Texas, what we're seeing in other states, you'll see come to fruition. As one of the legislators from Southwest Arkansas, stated it well, drive down I-30 and find, the type of retail that you see in Texarkana, Arkansas versus Texarkana, Texas. It's challenging in Arkansas to create the type of development that you need just because of the toolbox that we have here versus Texas. So that's something that could help. I think for now, and really how it works in a lot of states is not necessarily public policy or incentives. It's just that confidence that this region's going to continue to grow, and the quality of life, the business costs, the amenities are such that companies are going to find it attractive, and companies want speed to market. So if they had an opportunity for 300,000 square feet with 30-foot ceilings, they might take that all day long here versus a greenfield site and the construction cost and doing that somewhere else.
You said the state of Arkansas is going to get the vote on that.
That's right.
In a year.
Yep.
Well, when people start asking about it, I'll send them to minute 55 of the podcast for this.
What issue is that? Do they have numbers yet?
I believe it's number 3.
Number 3.
But dollars looking at
maybe.
Yeah.
That's great. We're kind of wrapping up towards the end of the round. You've done an incredible job. It's such a wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate your time. We're going to go into like a rapid fire round, which is give as long or short answers as you want. Favorite Arkansas town or hidden gem? Or maybe one of both.
Yeah, well, let me give a shout out to a community in Southwest Arkansas, Murfreesboro. It's where both of my parents grew up. Yeah. I did not grow up there, spent a lot of time there. It's communities like that, full of just wonderful people, hardworking people. Should be more of a tourist destination. Speaking of hidden gem, it's where the diamond mine is.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
A lot of times you see the diamond.
My mom
logo.
goes there.
I'll give a shout out to Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro. What is one book every leader should read?
I'll start with the Bible. As a great one. As a person of faith, that's the book. That's the standard. One book that I encourage leaders to read is it's a little bit of a unique one here. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Kind of a former FBI trained interrogator, hostage negotiation specialist, applies those principles to kind of everyday life and business. And negotiating is not a bad word. It doesn't have to be tense. It doesn't have to be stressful. Negotiation can be done in a way where you create win-win partnerships. Yeah. And a lot of good principles.
That's cool. Laid out. What was the name of the author again?
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss. I will look that one up. Voss?
Yes.
Okay. Most satisfying deal or project to date?
It'd be too hard to name just one.
But what, two or three?
So, yeah, I mean, let's go through some recently.
Yeah.
Recently we talked here in Northwest Arkansas about Keytronic and packaging specialties.
Yeah.
Those are incredibly meaningful because it's just, anytime that a business owner or corporate executive makes a decision like that, they're kind of putting their reputation on the line.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're putting their job on the line.
Yeah.
Hey, if this doesn't work out, that was a big screw up.
Yeah, yeah.
If it works out beautifully, then wow,
You're a hero.
great decision. Yeah. And so, those are two recent ones from Northwest Arkansas. We talked about, what's going on in the steel industry in Mississippi County. Things like that are so incredibly rewarding as you think about an area of the country like Northeast Arkansas, Southeast Missouri, West Tennessee that for years and years, unfortunately, has just been kind of an impoverished part of our country.
Yeah.
And so to find all the elements like the Mississippi River, I-55, affordable energy rates, BNSF rail, flat agricultural land, put all the amenities together and create this county that's now largest steel producing county in America.
Yeah.
With very, very good paying jobs.
Wow.
And so, you have folks who have grown up and maybe unfortunately grown up in poverty thinking, I can go to a steel boot camp, train for a short amount of time, and go make six figures as a steel worker.
Yeah.
And to be able to be a part of seeing something like that happen in Arkansas, that's what it's all about.
That's great. I mean, I learned that in this last hour. I had no clue about all the steel that was happening in that county. Advice to aspiring developers or public leaders.
Focus on relationships.
That could be a whole podcast.
Yeah. It could be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
But I think when my days are done and I hang it up, I'm not going to be thinking about the metrics and the scoreboard.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make a difference. I want to win projects because that's going to result in jobs and great opportunities for Arkansans. But I want those closest to me to say, man, I enjoyed working with that guy. I want to have good relationships with elected officials and economic developers around the state and with our team. And so I would say, and this is advice for myself, because a lot of times I get caught up in just what's the scoreboard? What are we doing today? How do we move the needle?
Yeah.
How do we win one more project? But at the end of the day, it's about people. So it's not just about people at the other end of the job. It's about people right around you.
Very relationship based. That's been a constant string you've been saying is like, this is a very relationship based business.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. Wrapping up, where can people find AEDC's resources or contact you?
Yeah, take a look at our website, arkansasedc.com, or look me up on LinkedIn. That's my one and only social media. And
Smart man.
So I try to do a lot there, but happy to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you guys. Do you guys have any following statements?
It's been great. Great way
Yeah.
to finish it.
It's been a really, really good one. I think this is something that I know for me, I'll be sending people to. I talk with a lot of out-of-state people, even on the residential side, that are curious about the state as a whole. And this will be an episode I'll point and say, hey, go listen to Clint talk. So I appreciate your knowledge. Please stay tuned for our next episode with the new president. Is he the president now is Alex the president?
We'll find that out.
We'll find out. Alex Day, president of Bank of Armstrong Bank.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Clint.
Yeah, good deal. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and list some sponsors off here. We're going to start with Whinstone Private Lending. This episode is brought to you by Whinstone Private Lending, one of the top private and hard money lenders now serving Northwest Arkansas. Whether you need short-term capital for a flip, a bridge loan, or creative financing, they've got you covered with very flexible products to fit nearly any deal, including 100% financing. What sets them apart is their deep expertise, fast response times, and ability to think outside of the box to help investors like us close quickly and efficiently. If you're looking for a real lending partner, check out Whinstone Private Lending. Link is in the show notes. Our next sponsor is Advantage Title and Escrow. They're a local company. They do great work, specifically Kayla Phillips. I can speak personally on this sponsor because I use Kayla for all of my transactions. It's been 2, 3, 4 years now, and Kayla and I have done a ton of deals. We probably do between 65 to 80 deals a year together, and they do a great job. The SOPs, so systems and processing that they have over Advantage Title is just incredible. Clients love it. They do a great job from start to end communicating. When I give a deal to Advantage Title and Escrow, I know that it's going to be taken care of. There's no second guessing. I almost am able to treat them like a second transaction coordinator to my transaction coordinator that I already have. I know that they're going to handle the systems and processes correctly as an agent, as a homeowner, as a buyer or seller. They do an incredible job of handling a transaction and communicating throughout the process. They do a great job with communication, especially Kayla Phillips over there. I would highly encourage you, if you're looking to close on a home, buy a home, if you're an agent listening, to use Advantage Title and Escrow, specifically Kayla Phillips. So you're going to reach Kayla best at 501-358-1601, or you can email her, Kayla, Cayla, at goadvantagetitle.com. Advantage is ADVANTAGE title.com. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update.
Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more real estate insights and behind-the-scenes content.
Have a question you want us to cover? Send it our way. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, visit nwainvesting.com to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.